Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this channel is called Romance in Grenada. And in Romance in Grenada, I don't want you to think of romance only as an intimate thing, but think of the essence, the spirit of romance. So think about all the good things and all the enjoyable things and your youth and what it was like. It was like every day was like Sunday. So today I have people on the panel here from different schools because we're going back in time with what I call one of track and field lords, one of the gods of track and field back in the 80s. We're going to be with Livingston Kumar Nelson. He's going to tell us what Kumar means later on. But I want to start by telling you, Nelson, welcome. We have people from different schools in the country, and we want you to know what it meant to us when you and SAASS was winning. So I have somebody from SAASS. His name is Cipriani. But first I want to talk to, we're going to start based on the pictures I see on the screen. So I have my sister, Irva Sandrienne. What can you tell us what about your days, your memories of Livingston?
Okay, so I was a little bit younger back then, but SAASS was always winning intercall, and in the best of my recollection, I remember a certain time of the day. So I probably would have been in common entrance class or something, and so we're coming home a little bit late, and then you're going through the neighborhood, and there's like a hush around 4, 5, 6. I think it was around 4 or 5. Everybody's quiet, they're glued to the radio, and all you're hearing is the announcer saying, and and Livingston Nelson, and there was another guy, what's the other guy called, Eugene Liquid. And so that's my memory. And then you hear noise, yeah, because the 4 batons pass, and Eugene got it, and Livingston got it, and then you hear the noise in the stadium, and the neighborhood goes crazy again, and everybody gets back in the house. So SAASS won, those boys didn't win the race. So that's my memory of it, and life goes back in the hustle.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to go to Andrea because Andrea have an interesting memory about the radio commentary. So Andrea can give us Andrea, give us the commentary that Ova was hearing.
No, I could remember because I couldn't take too much of the excitement, so I used to walk away. And in the distance, because I hated GBSS for the reason because they were very pompous and they always think they could beat SAASS. But SAASS, because I think St. Andrews were the underdogs in so many ways, they made fun of us. But when it came to the 4x1, it was around about after 3 after 4 in the evening, and I could hear my grandfather's, as much as I walked away, I could hear my grandfather's radio blasting, and it was Trevor Thwaites, Raw Titus, and I could hear the excitement, like you could just cut it with a knife. And there was Livingston, he's coming up, and he's coming up with the GBSS, and yes, SAASS is one! And I used to be jumping off my skin. I'm talking to you, I have goosebumps because it was so exciting, and everybody in my house would be jumping. I mean, literally, like we were in an Olympics and like Grenada got the first gold medal. It was that exciting.
Right. And so the adults, we have to remember that. So now, Livingston, I'm going to go to Shermian because we have a special memory too from Montrose. Actually, let me leave Shermian for last and go to Jerry. Jerry, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on.
So tell us what you
difficulties with the audio. I can hear now.
Yes. We can hear you.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Tell us your memory of Livingston Nelson, SAASS winning, what exactly it meant.
Well, the name Livingston Nelson and the likes of Godfrey, Augustine, they would have been before my era, eh?
Right.
But a lot of those guys, a couple of years after. And but the memories I have about them, they were a force to reckon with, they were a team that were unstoppable. And they had a passion for athletics, and going into JSS, we had the likes of, at the time, in my time, we had the likes of the Wayne Smart and the Richie and the Aaron Ton and the Ray Wickham, my memory would tell me that we didn't have we had individual athletes talented, athletes. But in terms of a team, it was a bit difficult for we to put a team together. So because of that, we know it would be difficult for GSS at the time to win intercall. We show our full support behind SAASS. A matter of fact, once you're from the country,
Yes.
so our full support behind our country school.
Yes.
So I should say, you were in elementary school at the time or primary school, and but you end up going to convent. Jones, were you in elementary school or were you already in convent?
I am not quite sure.
Might have been in convent. And
I might have been all of them my last year at elementary school.
Right. And Jerry, you were in elementary school or GSS. And I'm from Ladig and we were in Montrose. I want to leave Raphael for just before Livingston speaks because Raphael was from SAASS. So Raphael is going to tell us what the atmosphere was like in SAASS, but Shamian's going to tell us about what the atmosphere was like in Montrose, another country school, rural school. So Shamian, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It started long before intercall. When we going up, we would travel on the bus free again, and occasionally we'll see Livingston standing by the road waiting on the bus, and he'd be like, "Oh my God, that's Livingston." Livingston and Sac. You'd be like, "Oh my God, that's Livingston, that's Sac." You feel like you're passing, "Oh my God, Tivoli, and there's royalty on the way." So we anticipated intercall because it's like they don't know us, we know them, but somehow they're us and we're them. And there's a specific year when it was even more overwhelming for us when some of the greats from SAASS, Livingston and a crew came to help us with our sports because we had some internal political issues at our school. And they came and we saw them not just as athletes, but as people who are leaders. And they got us to have something that we were looking forward to for an entire year. We were training for our sport, our track meet that was about to not happen. And they came and helped us get it to get off the ground. And so they were athletes, they were leaders, they were heroes. They became all embodied in one. And so they became even greater to us. That's how we saw you. As simple as you stood with your gray pants and your white shirt on the street, you were like heroes to us every day. Oh my God, we saw Livingston. Oh my God, it's a Sac. And when we saw Eugene and Grenville and Schoon had this kind of very, smooth way of walking. It was like we sing, So we had our crushes, we had our local heroes, and they were real people. They weren't fake movie stars, they were real people. And we're happy to have you here, Livingston. Thank you.
Thank you.
And he's still a local hero, in my view.
Absolutely. And we had access to them. So we felt kind of special because they weren't in St. George's where we couldn't reach them. We can look out on the bus and say, "Hi, Livingston," on the way up or something, right? So now these are the schools other schools around St. Andrews, St. Patrick's. I couldn't have somebody from St. David's, but I got their sentiments. I talked to people from various schools who, because of the time we're doing this today, couldn't come on. But SAASS and Livingston represented the country. But before talking about this, I don't mean country as in Grenada first, I mean rural area. Before that, let's hear about the environment inside SAASS, and I'm gonna ask Cipriani to tell us about that.
Yeah, good day, everybody.
Good day, sir.
Livingston, what's going on, man?
Hey, cool. I am good. Very good.
Long time no see, man. Yeah. How is that guy Thomas doing?
Oh, Alistair Thomas?
Alistair T, yeah. He's doing okay?
He's crazy as usual.
I see you guys in a long time, man. Yeah.
Yeah, man, he's all right. He's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, for back then, it was good times, But leading up before Livingston and them start winning the intercall, we had a problem with GBSS and the people who organized the intercall. They used to get cheated a lot of times before they started winning. I think at one time we had broken down some of the bleachers. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and then after that year,
on the field.
After that year, they start playing the playing field correctly. But it was good times,
So what you're saying is they cheated and you
Yeah,
had to kind of make a
before they
protest.
start winning, yeah, they was like Livingston might win the race, but the judge is going to give it to the guy from GBSS.
Really?
Yeah, when time the race used to be close, they used to be cheated back then.
Oh,
You know, they call it school country. They used to call us country schools.
Country.
So
Okay.
then back then, even at GBSS used to be PBC.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it used to be. And then after we tried to we rebel, and after that we start winning. You know, that's what it was. You know.
right. So
Yeah.
it's GBSS GBSS was winning everything in the beginning of PBC, as you say, and SAASS managed to put together a marvelous team. So in our times was around 1980 to 1984, 85. You were trailblazers. SAASS was like the trailblazer to every other country school. And I mean, I heard about on another show about a race that fall started, and Livingston, I think you made a comment on that race too. The race fall started, everybody stopped, the GBSS guy continued running, and then Eugene had to run to catch up and win. And we're going to talk about that maybe later on, but Livingston, I want to welcome you, and I just ask these people on the panel so you get a feel of what it was outside St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School. You didn't just, what you did was for SAASS, but also for the rest of every rural school. And so I have some questions to ask you. Are you ready to answer?
I'm ready. I'm all ready.
Tell us a little bit about Livingston, the person. You can start probably by telling us how you managed to be in SAASS. Why did you choose SAASS? What led you to SAASS?
Well, let me just say I'm really flattered, and I've learned a few new things from your panels. From your panel, I was not aware that I was that hero status. I mean, the way your panels described me, the effect I had on them. I had no clue that we were that influential. So of course, growing up in Tivoli, I always wanted to be in sports, track and field. I like football, but more track and field. So I wanted to do that. And SAASS had seemed the closest school for me. I didn't want to go in town. I don't even believe I could have afforded to go into town in the first place. But SAASS had done it for me. So I became an athlete in Tivoli School. And we just used to run around playing regular game, cat and mouse. And I realized I used to run out almost everybody. Used to just run. So we just used to be running. So that was my initial training. Running around in the playing field, running through the bushes, going and get wood, firewood to cook, developing my strength, not knowing that, going in the sea, running on the beach for fun, not really officially training, but informally actually training, going and swim, trying to swim to the rock inside all those were informal training that I was not aware that I was doing. So I think I grew up physically strong. And then going to SAASS now, I went in 78, the revolution, when we were supposed to have intercall, it was the revolution, so that was postponed. And we continued training. I continue being in SAASS. I remember prior to that, we had sports in Tivoli School. And any coach you tell that today, they would say that was a very stupid thing to do. But the day before my event, I went on the beach for the first time and actually tried how to run on my own, just thinking on my own. And then the next day I came mentally, psychologically fortified, prepared, thinking, well, I trained yesterday, so I should be good. And that confidence, I think, helped me. You know, if I'm a coach and an athlete today, I would say, no, that doesn't make sense. But at that time, it really worked for me because it actually worked on the mind. So that was it, my initial going into SAASS. And then from there are a couple of things. I don't know if you want me to continue, Cindy-Ann, or if you want to ask another question. If you want me to go in a particular line.
Does anybody have any questions in regard to how he started?
I don't have a question, but just listening to him, I'm just thinking, wow, the insight for a child who just realized that he had some talent and decided to develop this talent on his own. And honestly, just because, like, I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity, and I guess you are, right? Because for me, it was like Carl Lewis. So, you know, those kind of, you hear of those guys, but I've never even met you. So today's like my first day meeting you. So I'm like, wow, this is an amazing story. This guy just knew he had some talent and worked on it himself?
I don't know if it was I knew I had talent. I knew I had a passion for that. And then so I think how it is in life, that if you really have a passion, like you really want to drive a big truck, you would learn how to drive a big truck even before you actually got into it. You have some ideas. So and if you want to be an athlete, then you do things. You run in the bush, you run with other people. When you're walking, you're wandering, you look at photos, you're wondering how it is to be or what you should do to be an athlete. So I think that is what propelled me. That is what made me want to go there. You mentioned, I think one of you, I'm not so sure if it was you, had mentioned about actually. Yeah. So yeah, I was when you mentioned about seeing me on the buses. I remember I used to be training because of my status, how we grew up, our poverty. I used to give my bag to a young lady that was a kind of cousin of mine. And I used to run from SAASS to come to Tivoli and then use Montrose. So I remember there was particularly Haley Roy. I don't know if you all remember Haley Roy. Some of you might be too young.
The bus, Haley Roy.
I remember bus.
That
It was
bus,
a boat bus.
yeah, boat bus, mainly travels with convent girls. And when I run in, I used to try to see if I could outrun that bus, meaning I would reach in Moya or Conference or Tivoli before they reach me. And then when I'm on my way and they passing, and then I would say, "Hey, Livingston," all those convent girls, which I have when they meet me one to one, they would never call me. They would never say hello, which was kind of sad. But they would call me, all of them on the bus. Some of them would sip me because they're on the bus in that group of persons. But when I would never meet one of them in face to face because I didn't recognize them.
Right.
So it was nice to know that I had certain admirers at a distance anyway.
Right.
But but going to SAASS, the young man that went to SAASS mentioned about the cheating. But I think for us going to SAASS, we were young, but we were made aware of that, and we had a kind of determination that we were not going to be cheated. So 77, 78, those things used to happen. But in 1980, we were prepared to stand up. So we were adamant that when we win, we are going to get our victory. So a good couple of us, myself, Calvin's, the Eugene Liquidge, the Sack, which we call the John Wayne, the same Sack. Around that time, Patrick Simmons, Orlando Simmons, we prepared to stand up. So we went down to Intercall and we run our guts out because one, we were big, we were physically strong, we were intimidating, and then we were really, really good for our time. So I think we basically were beating GBSS before we went on the field, psychologically with our muscles. If you look at the photo, I mean, I was then probably a junior now, second year junior, looking so ropey, so hard, so muscular. I don't know if your guests can actually see the photos.
I'm trying to share the screen, so keep speaking. I'll put the photo up.
Right, and that is the way we look. So I mean, the next athlete that looking skinny, probably looking at us would be quite intimidated. But I must say that for me in SAASS, I was like an unofficial decathlete. I mean, I did the 1, the 2, the 4. I did the long jump, the high jump, the triple jump. I did the javelin. I did the discus. I must say that I would sometimes go to SAASS. For a matter of fact, I've never lost the long jump in SAASS, never. But for 2 years, I would never get a chance. I never got a chance to do the long jump because I had so many events. And remember, in the call during that time was one day.
Am I sharing the screen?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
You see
Yes,
the
Interpol
muscles?
was one day in those days.
Yep.
See the muscles on the on this junior athlete?
Wow. He looks like he worked out at the gym.
It's ripped.
This was
Stripes, good stripes.
Rivan Twine, because I've never been to the gym.
Right.
I only spent about a month trying to work out in the gym in my entire life when I was in Canada because I was getting back into Canada. I spent roughly 6 years in Toronto, and I was training with a team called Etobicoke Huskies.
Oh.
Yeah, so I only spent around 1 month in the gym trying to work out. But prior to that, it was the soft sand, going and look for dry wood for us to cook during that time, and just my own kind of own exercises. So that never happened. So I think I was saying because intercol was one day, whensoever I reached on the field, I had to do the hits for the 1, the 2, the 4. Then I had to do the hits for the 4x1. And then I would be competing in the usually the high jump or the triple jump. So you have other persons like Eugene or Godfrey or Eugene and Carl, they would do the long jump. So they took me out from the long jump, even though I never lost the long jump in SAASS. And sometimes they would take me out from the triple jump because of the many events that I had to do. So in a nutshell, that was my track and field. But there are some memorable days. I mean, I can speak days, hours on end, just about our exploit in track and field in during that time and intercol.
So before you go, though, before we do intercall, I'm sorry, because I want to do intercall last, but let's talk about what was happening inside SAASS. We're from Montrose SDA Comprehensive, and the others from GSS and thing. We had house events first.
Yeah.
Before we had the intercall. We're going to talk about what you did for us in Montrose in a while, but inside SAASS, Cipriani, were you in the same, did you have houses? What was the competition in the house?
What year Cipriani was in SAASS? What was?
76.
76?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that means so that means Cipriani, you were in Simone.
Yeah, I started Simone, me and Black Dog and them.
Oh, okay.
Black,
wow.
Yeah. Well, then, yeah, so we had houses, but houses is basically you have house event on sports day. That is it. So in SAASS Sports.
Which house were you in?
I was in Lane, which was the Yellow House.
Yellow House, okay.
I was in schools.
Always losing.
Question for Livingston. It seems as though your mental conditioning and your physical conditioning was an everyday thing. You thought of athleticism as yourself as an athlete every day. How did you prepare yourself when it was closer to the events, like when it was closer to track meet? Because if you're thinking about it every day and you're thinking of, winning or being your best self every day, when it was closer to the sports meet or the intercall, how did you readjust, or what more did you do? Because what the reason why I'm asking is because it seemed to me like it's a life journey. Your excellence is a life journey, and it seemed as if you were aware of that without being aware of it. So let me know how you share that with us.
Well, I mean, I think, as I said earlier on, there was this passion. So that's the first thing. Second thing I want you to understand, as you grow older, you learn more. So your preparation become better. But as I said, since in primary school, I went on a training the day before sports. That was my first time actually training. And as I admitted, it was a kind of silly thing to do. But in hindsight, it was a good thing to do because it was not just my body. Because I was young, I did develop cramps and etc. So, but psychologically, mentally, it did prepare me and helped me. It fortified me. So it made me believe that now that I'm trained, I can actually win. And that is quite important. So both the mind and the body. Second thing, there is something I did just before sports. So you see, you replay yourself running. And then for the example, like the 100, there is no time when you start fast and you end up slow, or you start slow and you end up fast. It is speed from the beginning. So the first thing you try to do is, in your mind, you listen to the command and you think about the best way, how you should do it. When you hear the gun, what should you do? Or the whistle in primary school, or the pistol go off, what do you do? How should you start? And what should go through your mind? And of course, there is nothing you can think about except at that first stage, in Form 1, maybe Form 2, is speed. That is all you can think about. Secondly, again, there was something I started doing because I was also the manager of the Tivoli Drummers for a number of years, found and developer Tivoli Drummers. There is something I did, and I believe I learned that through the track and field. You call it a mental check. So before we go on the stage to perform, everybody would come together. So what is the first item we do? And everybody must close the mind and say, what is the second item? And then you go to the individual event. So if we're doing a drum piece and we do choreographed drum pieces, so okay, you would start, and then let us play it with our mouth. With our mouth, my tongue get kind of tied up when I'm saying that. And then so you start, and then the next person would start. And then when is the third person time to come in? And then how does the first person come in again? When do they come in? So we did that. And we call it a mental check. So in a sense, you replay yourself what you would be doing on your sports day. First, you must think about what you should wear, how you should prevent injury, water intake. You're wondering about what is the best thing you can do for food in terms of rest, where you should go, should not go. Should you go all the night? You shouldn't go all the night. Should you drink water? You shouldn't drink water. Those kind of things. What food do you use? And then you consult your teachers. So what is the best food that would provide the energy? For some reason, I don't know why I had that, but I always wanted a callaloo soup the day before. Don't ask me anything. I don't know how that, because in my mind, callaloo soup was supposed to develop your iron in your body. I thought I needed energy and more protein, but callaloo soup did it for me in my first 2 years. Later on, of course, it changed as I grew up. But that was the kind of preparation you did. You played in your mind first the event that you want to leave out before the guy that you believe could beat you. And you want to maintain that, and you go run hard to the end. You're not going to slow down. You're going to bust the tape flying. And then, you go to the 200 meters and you play. And then the 400 meter, now you play it in your mind. Now that I'm now in SAASS, because you did not do that in primary school, how do you go to the 400 meter? And you replay that strategy and you strategize, and for me, one of the early stage, as I go way back, is that you don't let anybody, if you get it lane 1, you must take down everybody before you break that corner, right? And if you get lane 7 and 8, you must make sure that nobody meets you. And then coming to the end, you don't care what happened, but you're going to run out your gut. Yeah? So that is how you play it in your mind, and that is the strategy you go by it. As you grow older, I guess you develop more strategy, but that is how it was at the beginning.
So I need to ask.
And it seemed as if you were your own life.
My own?
You
Can you repeat?
She froze. So I'll just tell you.
If I could just ask, make a
personal development as a professional, whatever it takes, is there anything that you could have done that you could use for your life lesson from that training?
Oh, I've learned a lot of things from my life training, but it's not just my life training. I have learned things from observing other persons in the training. No matter where you're at in life, I've seen persons. So let me remove myself, because I think the life lesson is bigger, seeing other persons. And I will give you 2 examples. One, I have seen other persons with extreme talent, really, really good talent, but not committed, and they fell by the way. They fell by the way in track and field, and some of those persons fell by the way in all other aspects in their life, as far as I'm concerned, if I want to sit down here and be a judge on them. Yeah? So, because I can say that clearly, because I'm not calling names. And then I've seen other persons. There are 2 guys that stood up. One name is called Frank Alexander. Frank Alexander, as far as I'm concerned, had no talent. But Frank Alexander keep on training. Frank Alexander, he was Condela, they used to call him.
Condela's son.
Condela's son. This guy, as far as I'm concerned, that guy had no talent, but this guy couldn't even jump the junior standard. But this guy used to go out every break time and jump and jump. When time to do the senior high jump, Condela would go outside and try to attempt it and throw it down, of course, creating vexation for people like me. But Condela, at the end of the day, made the intercall team as a high jumper. The life lesson to learn is that if you apply yourself and you have a passion with a talent, you're probably going to go somewhere. I've seen people that used to beat same Alan Franzik, hands down in Tivoli school and 1st and 2nd year in high school. But Alan Franzik continued to train. And as I say, he, in my mind, was not blessed with talent. Even at his later days, he didn't have that grace and that smoothness in the 400 meter. Everybody know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Alan 400.
Yeah, but Alan Franzik he took it to the highest level. And I've seen persons with that talent that couldn't carry it even to Carifta, but they had that natural talent. So it's not just my life lesson. I mean, for me, I had one regret, if I were to now come back to my own self, is that I I was this all-round athlete, and I did everything on a national level. I didn't just throw shot put and win in SAASS. I threw shot put and win nationally, be it in Intercal or Eastern Games or Whitsuntides in Grenada. And the same thing with discus. The same thing with long jump and high jump and triple jump, or the 24. And my only regret is that when I went in Canada, I focused on the 100. I should have been a decathlete, and I believe in that sense I was going to make it internationally. That is my only regret. I believe I had the discipline. My discipline came from self. I was always disciplined. I trained for myself when all my friends were hanging out, looking for girls. I mean, I had my time real apportioned, like when I should do this and when I should not do that. So I was quite disciplined. I mean, I wanted to be in the in-thing, I wanted to hang, I wanted to do everything like them. But I also wanted so much to be an athlete that there was time for everything. And when my friends were hanging, I was somewhere training or studying. So one or the other.
So Jerry, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the contribution Mr. Livingston had made for, and is still doing, for the Ministry of Culture in general in Grenada, has never gone unnoticed. Actually, he was, I think, Minister of Culture one time.
No, I was the CEO of the Cultural Foundation.
Right.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Grenada Cultural Foundation.
Right. So I guess because of the discipline you showed from an early age, being an athlete, you were able to transform that in your everyday life.
Well, to a nutshell, but I think you went to GSS and you mentioned something about GSS. When GSS, you know, and Cindy and you were going to Montreal just now, but there was a next time we went to GSS because the person that became the first coach in GSS was Carl Vincent. And I told you before, I was the one that actually coached the SAASS team in my last 2 years. So I went to GSS with Carl Vincent to help him, in a sense, you know, all the coaching with thing. And I also recall when GSS went to Intercal that year when Carl Vincent was the coach, we did a general warm-up. And I conducted that general warm-up. So GSS did the same warm-up with SAASS. And that was really, really nice. At that time, we had Carl had left school 1 year before me. So he became the coach and I was still in SAASS. So I did the general warm-up for both SAASS and SAASS and GSS at that one Intercal.
So let me just jump in here and say I had something nicely structured, but it doesn't happen so in life when you're talking about memories and the good times and the good old days. And I appreciate the input Jerry just put about culture, but let me bring you back to sports first. And
yeah, but that way I stayed in sports, I know.
Yes, we'll talk a little bit about culture after, because in terms of, I had a lot of questions, but you sort of cover it. One was about your teachers and your mentors and your parents. How involved were they in your life and your development and your goals and so on?
Well, listen, my dad died when I had 5 years. My mom migrated when I had 8 years. So I grew up with my brothers and sisters. What was strange when you look around, my sisters and them was such that my brothers, they did not stop me from doing anything. I could leave home and come back. I could go all the time, come back home 1 o'clock in the morning. I could have come back 12 o'clock in the morning. I could have smoked, drink, anything that I chose to do, in a sense. My sisters and them would not like it because they had certain stuff. For matter of fact, my bigger sister was going to try to spank me any which way. But I mean, a lot of they didn't used to keep that close eye on me. It is me, it was I. I am the one that chose to stay home. I am the one that lock up myself sometimes 7 o'clock because I would train hard in the evening and come back home and sleep. And then I would also, as I said, I kind of did like reading and staying in my books to a certain extent. So, because this was my lifetime goal. So, they didn't have that big hold on me. My community, as most Grenadian community, I was breaking new ground. So there was nobody in Tivoli that I could use as a role model in that field, in track and field. And in SAASS, There were persons that one came second, third in intercall before, one or two guys won, but SAASS had never really won any major competition like an intercall. So we were the first group that were breaking that. So we were all going it together. But I had a teacher that I think I'd always looked. He never spoke hard to me. Even today, I get a chance and I would go and look for him. We'd sit down hours and we'd talk. His name is Eric Donald. So he was really good with me. He was my class teacher, my form master for basically all the years. And then, but we had a team in SAASS: Eric Donald, Neville Glean, Francis Julian, and those guys kept us together. But our principal, not on the forefront, Cresswell Julian, was very, very much a part of that, in instilling that pride and letting us know we were like the first West Indies team, cricket team, that we had to bring it home for the country, that we were as good as, we could be better than, in a nutshell, that we don't have to subject ourselves to. So those kind of psychological, what I call fortification of the mind, helped us in knowing that we go in there for the goal. And then we had to win, not for ourselves or just for ourselves, but for our school and our village and for our parish. And then we later on is for the whole damn rural community all over Grenada.
Thank you for that. But yeah. We must, I mean, God rest his soul, Mr. Cressy. Yeah. I mean, that probably was a name as national as you guys knew. Everybody, I think, in the whole rural area. Yeah.
About so let
me tell you two examples, two experience I had with Cressy. Eugene and I did a 400 meters. We were both scared of each other. Yeah. So when I cannot remember the young lady name that asked about strategy, but with Eugene, I don't want him to take me down. I don't want him to go. I had more stamina, so I must stay a little ahead of him. That was my strategy. I guess Eugene planning. So for the 400 meter, we were going neck and neck. We're not taking on each other. We're waiting to see who would, shoot out at the last moment. And we basically run something like a 52 seconds in a 400 meters. Eugene won that day. He won the 400 meter on that day. Mm-hmm. When we went to assembly the next day, because we saw sports and the assembly the next week, Cressy Julian asked us to stand up. Of course, he asked us to stand up. We were great athletes, so we were going to be praised. And Cressy said, man, my athletes don't run as stupid, man. You run stupid. You don't make no sense. You cannot come in my sports and run 52 seconds. You are too good for that. So remember, I went the 1, I went the 2, Eugene won the 4, etc. But he put us in perspective, and then when we look back, we know, we were both looking to win without thinking about we should give it our best and break the record, because we were supposed to be doing that at that time. That was one example. The second example, I remember, because Cressy used to come and talk to, he would come maybe twice a year to address the intercall team just before intercall. And Cressy said to us, we go down there and we cannot let him down. We cannot let the school down. We cannot let the parish down. They depend on us, right? So we went and we run. And I remember at one time we had an athlete, because we left out Godfrey because Godfrey needed some discipline. And we chose a guy that was very weak. We said we'd rather lose than go with him. So we chose a guy they called Godric Taylor. Godric Taylor I'm speaking fast, but you understanding me?
Yes.
Right. Everybody understanding?
Yeah, Godric Taylor.
Right. So Godric Taylor now ran the 800 meter, and then soon after, not very long, we had the 4x4. So Godric Taylor was a little bit tired, but he was doing the third leg. And I ended all relays, the 4x1 or the 4x4. So
yes, Eugene started, you ended.
Yes. So Godric Taylor came in, and this GBSS guy beat Godric Taylor. Give him distance. And when Cipriani, his name, spoke about the bleachers breaking down, I remember that I got this battle, and this GBSS guy was so far. But then I hear in the girls, not guys, but the girls, the voices of SAASS girls saying, Livingston, run, don't turn back. Livingston, SAASS, go, don't turn back. And I remember I just get that battle when I start running. And I start running, and I say, today is either I take him down or I'm going to fall on the field dead. One way or the other.
Or die.
I'm telling you, remember I done the 1, the 2, the 4, all the other events, but I took down this guy. and I came home with the baton. And when I came home with the baton, the fence was broken. I couldn't see where to end because the SAASS team was on the field, and I ran through this narrow lane. You know, just thinking about like goosebumps. And two things happened that was very significant. One is that when I reached, I did not know when I reached, except that I was in the arms of people. I was in the arms of around 7 women, young ladies. Those ladies looking weak, they lifted me up from there and brought me right up in the pavilion. Imagine that now, I was close to 200 pounds. And they brought me down there, and all I know, Cressy was sitting there, and you see he belly shaking. That's how Cressy used to laugh. And Cressy belly shaking because before we run that race, SAASS was ahead. But George Bizan, who was in GBSS, and you know how things was slitted in GBSS favor,
Yes.
was also on the mic. And George Bizan said that this race would separate the men from the boys.
Mm-hmm.
Because GBSS had a strong team, and we now went with a weakened team because we left all Godfrey. And that race would separate the men from the boys. And when I won, you could see the joy on Cressy's face. And I just went on Cressy, and for the first time, I just go and I hug Cressy. You know, before I couldn't even touch Cressy. I did not even shake his hand, you know? And I hugged Cressy, and Cressy was so, it's like to me, I just made his day. He was this king now because I brought it home for SAASS.
Yeah.
And that was something, yeah.
Yes,
You know?
sir. Yes, sir.
Could I just say this before the end, before you speak? Sorry.
No. Wait,
You know,
one last thing. I want to be very short. I know my stories are kind of long. I want to be extremely short.
No, they're good.
I was also a footballer, relatively good in football, and I went to play football for SAASS. We went and play against Shapers in Colbert Peters Park, and we all dressed. I dressed, my boots, everything on the field. I saw Cressy's son who went with us run. He got a phone call, and then he came back. And then before when the referee was about to start, he told the referee hold. And then he came to me and said, Livingston, the principal said you cannot play football. Why? He said they're gonna break your foot because intercall is coming up. So,
Right.
you understand? So I had to stay out from football because Cressy said, forget, let's us lose the football. They don't care. For the
Yes.
So,
King
so
of the track.
important.
sorry, I hope I did not
No, that was a good piece, you know, because I always thought there must be something. When SAASS ran, they didn't run as if they were running as students. They ran as if they had a purpose. And now hearing the talk that you get, the priming, the motivation that you got from your principal tells me a lot. And now I'm looking back, and I know we didn't get at our school. We just ran because we were selected, and we just ran on any given day. And so it's important for children to have a sense of purpose and identity. You see, he identifies with his children, and so you feel that you're obligated to do that for him. And that's why you showed him on that day when you hugged him that he meant, it was like you and him. He meant that much, and you did it for him. So I think as adults now, we have an opportunity to maybe people in Grenada who may hear that principals could get a chance to change their course now and learn to implement and instill a sense of identity in the students, that, you know, you belong here, we're here for you, we're supporting you. And I like that very much. I mean, it's a pity that he's already dead, that he can't hear that. I'm sure his son is alive, the one who said the principal say you can't run, but you can play. But that's an amazing story of the importance of an adult and a person of power to tell you that you mean a lot to the team.
And I think a lesson that we all can learn from that, and I believe that is one of the problems that is creating issues with the education system, is that some people, they are educated, but they have no purpose, no vision, no, you know, for the schools. So a principal, now you have persons that are principal, they have never been, they are in church, but they're not in the church group. They're in community, they have never been in a community group. How can you be a good principal? I hope none of you are principals.
No,
a good principal must have purpose, not just education. And also, I think if you take it down to the first level, some children would do better if their parents, mom and dad or whatsoever, their parents are behind them and give them support. So I think that is a life lesson, that, you know, you're part of the collective. You're part of the vision. What is our family? What our family mean? What is the culture should be of our family?
So let me just use this opportunity to go right into, as a young student, and maybe only Jerry might remember this. You came for a long time. I remember Montrose School never really participated in competition on that level. We never did intercall before 780. We never did, or 81. We never did intercall before that. And I think it was the mandate of the government that time that all schools had to participate. We had in-house sports, but we never went at that level as far as I know. So we weren't prepared for any kind of national competition. And I remember you coming to Montrose with a group of SAASS athletes. And in discussing with you, I told you I was wondering who asked you to do this. And I think I can sense now from you understanding what the rural areas needed. This talk with Chrissy represent the parish. And I think for you, because you were in Tivoli, so you were on the edge of two parishes. So you have a lot of, you know, friends and everything in St. Patrick's because you're on the border, and you have all of St. Andrews. So I think for you, maybe it was to take the eastern seaboard, but you came to Montrose with a group of SAASS athletes and trained Montrose athletes. Tell us a bit about that.
I think it started up with a discussion, and I cannot recall who it was, but I believe it had to be a teacher. It could have been Anthony Edwards. And I said, you know, we can come. I believe that I offered because, as I said, it's the same kind of thinking that went to GSS, when Carl Vincent went there, we went to assist, because it's like, I always believe in spreading the thing. SAASS alone winning, I don't believe is good enough. And if SAASS continue winning, it make it difficult for other schools in terms of the confidence, etc. I mean, I was not just thinking, I was not able to articulate then my feeling, but also I would like McNeil College, I would like Montrose, I would like GSS, Convent in Grenville to come up, of course, to be something else. So after the discussion, some plan was made that if I could get a group of co-athletes, we would come and offer our time. And that was arranged. So we went in Montrose and we started offering tips. I believe we had, I don't know if it's short would discuss whatsoever, if we were able to do jumps. But I remember we came there and we did some sort of coaching or training, passing on some tips to them. And as I said, I was the one that used to train the SAASS team in the last 2 years. Prior to, we had a guy they called Judge Gotti Robinson that came and gave us maybe a year in some technical knowledge in terms of the drums, etc. But by that time he left, and then we had people like Trevor Modest, that was before, and then I took on the mantle in my latter years, maybe Form 5. I've spent 2 years in Form 5. In those latter years, I was SAASS captain, I was a coach and everything. So I wanted to help, and so I went there and we trained. And for some reason, just before everything was set for the sports day, I guess you want me to go in that direction, right?
You can go wherever you like.
Right. And just before that sports day, some issue, something happened, and the school board or the school principal or whatever decided that there would be no sport.
Yeah.
So I was contacted and I said, no, we're having sports. We're having sports. So we took a decision. I went up there and I brought a few guys with us. And we get the guy with the sound system. I arrange everything, get the guy with the sound system, get somebody on the mic. I run a thing with the different houses. I got a few athletes to give me what the name of the houses, who are the persons we could use. Some athletes did participate, some choose not to, but I think a large number of athletes did participate. And we organized the sport. Some of the persons that were already asked to come and officiate were there. I remember putting them in strategic position, who would start, who would end, who would be around the curve, etc. We organized it really. And then we ran the sport. I think lo and behold, I don't know if one or two students got thing, but we were also mobile. I remember we had a movement trying to mobilize SAASS to take up the cause, and then we were stopping SAASS. I said, you know, we can't do that. Get SAASS athletes to go and protest about whatsoever they want to do in terms of disciplining the athletes. But so I guess in a nutshell, that is what happened.
You know what I think, and it sounds, and it's very clear to us that winning is not just a personal thing for you. So you don't see winning like you must come first, but winning is a collective, because when we all win, we all win. It's better. It's a bigger win when everybody wins. And I think if we now, hearing your voice, start hearing that, I've just heard that, would use that at our homes, in our communities, in Grenada, wherever we are, that winning, and particularly for people of our hue, winning is a collective thing, that we need to win together or we all fail together, because in Grenada, it's country or GBSS. And so SAASS represented as best as you can all of the country schools. You took on that responsibility, but you realize that it's SAASS alone winning. It's nice, but if we can get others to have the pride of winning for your individual parishes, local village and hamlets, would be a better thing. And then that would instill national pride in us, which I guess the rest of the leadership didn't see. It's national pride rather than this country versus town thing. And so we still have that craziness now. But that it's important that maybe people hear that. It's a national pride we want to instill. When we all win together, we all win collectively. Thank you. That's amazing.
Okay, so I'm sorry, our time is running, gaspiating, according to my great-granduncle. We're almost at the end. Actually, we're at the end of an hour. Livingston, I'd like to ask you, because we still have a lot more we'd like to discuss. Can we do a part 2?
Yeah, I'm game.
Okay, so any final words before we end this section, and we definitely come back with a part 2 of Romancing Grenada and talking with the king of the track. So
would you want to bring a next person, or you just want me?
For now, let's just finish off with you, and then I have a session where I ask Eugene, and he asked for you to be there too, because he thinks it's going to be more fun, because we want to make it fun. We want to bring people's memories back. Unfortunately, I don't know if Zoom had some technical problems or some upgrade. We had a lot of problems. You send me pictures and I can't really share them. So I will get a quick training again and be ready for part 2. We really want to thank you. And any last words or words for continuum?
No, I just want to say thank you for letting me relive those memories. That was really nice. Going back down into my deep repertoire and coming up with some of those things. As I speak, you know, things keep on coming, and for all the nice words that was said and all the hero worship then.
Still?
I extremely flattering. That is really nice. So yeah, it is nice to hear those things, but thank you for sharing my memory and my philosophy. And if we're doing part 2, of course we will chat again.
All right. So let me just sorry, you wanted to say?
No, I say everybody have a great day.
Okay, so Andrea, what do you want to tell? What Livingston gave us lots. What do you want to give him before?
No, I just want to say this. After listening to all this and reminiscing on it, I think we need to remove like Progress Park, and let's start giving our heroes what's due to them. What about, we have Cuthbert Peters Park. What do we have in Grenville? Instead of Progress Park, Livingston Nelson Park. Let's give our heroes their roses while they're around.
Oh, wow. Great.
I mean, I think what I'm getting from you folks is good enough.
It's never good enough, because we don't do enough for our own local people. We tend to take other people and put them in a higher position, and we don't raise our heroes high enough, I think.
Yes.
No, but I had this conversation with Eugene all the time. Is like, because people really remember our time, and I believe, for me, in my position, I accept it as good enough. Meaning, because you see, I have not won an Olympic medal. I have not gone beyond as much as that I've done. And that is some of the criteria we use in identifying persons to be hero. But when I hear what you have said about how the impact I had on your life and other persons, maybe once a month now, once every 2 months, somebody will say, oh, you were a great athlete. Oh, you know, people running now, but you used to run faster than them then. I mean, all this of them is, to me, is really echoing those sentiments. So I'm
But
satisfied with I
if
could with what I have. Yeah?
I am in support of what Andrea is saying. You have a legacy, whether it's local, regional, or international. There are different levels, but we have to acknowledge, especially the base, the grassroots. If we don't lift up our grassroots athletes, we're not going to get very much at the top. We have to have a strong base of athletes. So let me just go quickly to Shamian, then Ova, then Jerry, then Cipriani, and we'll call it a day. So Shamian, what do you have to give Livingston?
You've inspired us, and I wish we can, I hope that from what you've given us, we can give back to Grenada, to your dream of making the collective we winners would be something that you could be proud of, whether it's in the form of some place that we recognize you at, so future generations could know the purpose of the we, not merely you as a winner, as a single athlete, but your aspiration, your desire for us to win collectively.
Thank you.
Honestly, I just want to say thank you. Even I can see and feel the passion from this teenage boy now. And that's really good that you didn't stop there, that you carried. So you always that kind of passionate person, and you took it into your adulthood and still doing stuff in your community. I know you have the drumming thing. So thank you for, you know, and I love the fact too, she also said the we concept. That was really nice. You didn't just think about SAASS. I went to convent, and just hearing you talking, you know, that's not how a track team went. And thanks to Gershom Springer, who did some track with us too. But we didn't have that kind of mindset that you had. We just ran. But I can still feel your passion to this day. And it was a great story. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Jerry?
Yeah, I just want to say how much I appreciate the impact you have made in our life. And to note, not only in the student's life, the parents' life also. It was a joy when, you know, a school from the country, you were part of the celebration, you know, one day intercall. Thanks again. I learned a lot about you today.
Absolutely. Cipriani, any last words?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that it was a pleasure listening to you, everybody on the panel. Yeah, especially Livingston, you know, seeing that you didn't get no qualified training, you did pretty good for yourself. You know, if you were able to get somebody who was professional in the field of athleticism, you could have been today, you could have been like Mr. Lewis or one of them guys, you know, back then, because you didn't get the proper training you needed and you reached that far. Imagine that if you was getting the training which were qualified, you know, it'd have been pretty good, you know. And you know, that's good, man. I'm glad to know that you're still around, still drumming, you know. you know. So that's
I guess
good, man.
we would have to talk a little bit more about the drumming.
Yes,
yeah, next time. I do look at your YouTube channel though, so I still, you know, you might not be seeing me, but I see you. You know.
You know how you call that in Grenada language, boy?
What?
You makoin, boy.
Nah. Somebody got to do it, man. You know, somebody got to do it. You know? Yeah, man. And you continue to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Continue doing what you're doing, man. It's a pleasure seeing you all guys. You know, Sharon.
All right, great.
Yeah, it's nice to see you all guys, man. You know.
All right. Thank you very much.
Next time I come to Grenada, I'll come visit you all a little bit, man.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, I'll go to Tivoli, you know.
Thank you, my friend.
Right.
So thank you to the panel. Especially thank you, Livingston. And as Jerry said, I forgot this part and my mom would have been very upset with me, and I'm glad Jerry raised it. My mom said to me, remember to tell Livingston the adults used to be listening too. I said,
shouting too, go Livingston, go.
Yes, my mom used to be with the radio announcer, and we couldn't really hear the announcer sometimes. So for all of St. Andrews, for all of the rural parts of Grenada, for all the contribution you did for your school. And we thank you very much. We look forward to a part 2. Thank you to the panel for being here. Thank you for your inspiration. You are a true legend to us.
Yeah.
And I have a thing now. I'm calling the SAASS team. I have pictures which I couldn't share. The lords of the track and field. So we'll come back romancing the lords of the track and field in part 2. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, good.
Thank you.